If there is one Pokemon theory that is hotly contested, it is the idea that ghost-type Pokemon are the spirits of dead Pokemon. We do know that some ghost-type Pokemon are absolutely the spirits of dead humans. However, it's not really clear if a dead Pokemon becomes one of the ghost types. Well, that never stopped me. This particular theory made a few rounds on Tumblr and states that when a Cloyster dies, it becomes a Ghastly. Its smiling mouth is nearly identical to a Jengar's smile. Shellder likes to stick its tongue out, and the Ghastly line is known for their paralyzing tongues. In fact, the Shellder line is right before the Ghastly line in the Pokédex. Cloyster is number 92 and Ghastly is number 93 because some Pokemon are confirmed to be dead spirits. It's not exactly an unreasonable theory.
Cubone's Pokédex entry in Pokémon Yellow says it wears the skull of its deceased mother. Although there is no official explanation offered in the games, fans think they might have found the answer. The baby Kangaskhan always carries with it shares several striking and hard-to-ignore similarities with Cubone. The theory says that Cubone is a divergent evolutionary path for young Kangaskhan's who have lost their mother. This theory traces back to the very first Pokémon games, but new evidence in Pokémon Sun and Pokémon Moon have helped to strengthen the theory. The call for help mechanic in Sun and Moon typically spawns Pokémon who are in the same evolutionary line as the one you are battling. There are a few exceptions, but most of those have lore that explains the connection. Cubone's call for help will sometimes spawn a Kangaskhan, demonstrating that there is a link. The Pokémon War, Kanto War theory, says that most of the adults died in a war that took place shortly before the start of the first games. Your character is among the first generation to live in peace after the war. It is why there is so much focus on training and battling. There are hospitals, homes, and gyms all over the place, but not much else. It is also why there isn't much communication between the various regions. Like most of the good theories, there is plenty of evidence within the game to support this idea. Your character has no father. Your mother calls you the man of the house. The real piece of evidence that solidifies this whole theory is when the gym leader, Surge says, "Hey kid, what do you think you're doing here? You won't live long in combat. That's for sure. I'll tell you what kid, electric Pokémon saved me during the war." Pokémon can be really strange at times. There are ancient creatures wandering around and ghosts that drag kids off to eat them. Heck, there are even aliens in Pokémon. No, this isn't the theory, this is fact. Deoxys Pokédex entry states that it is a mutated alien space virus. Yes, the Pokédex actually says alien. However, it might not be the only alien in the Pokémon games. One theory suggests that the Clefairies from MT Moon are also extraterrestrials. They colonize the mountain, kicking out locals in order to make their new home. The reason why they collect moonstones and dance under the light of the full moon is so that they can feel more at home. What's more, any Pokémon that refused to leave was instantly killed by the invading Clefairies and Clefables. Those dead Pokémon eventually turned into fossils. Though this one may seem a little far-fetched at first, there's actually some empirical evidence to suggest that Misty is in fact dead. In episode 24 of the anime, Misty is licked by Sabrina's Haunter. The thing is though, numerous Pokédex entries for the Pokémon suggest that a lick from a Haunter is actually fatal. As such, it stands to reason that Misty would have died soon after that fateful lick. Her continued inclusion in the anime would obviously suggest otherwise, but some fans of the show have speculated that this is just a symptom of Ash's grief. As far as they're concerned, all of Misty's battles from episode 25 of the anime onwards were actually fought by Ash, who, stricken with grief for his lost friend, is attempting to keep her memory alive and her heartbroken Pokémon active, while the anime follows Ash on his Pokémon journey. The first episode shows Ash meeting his first ever Pokémon, Pikachu. In one particular scene in the first episode, Pikachu shocks Ash and a herd of Spearows to save them both from getting attacked. But in this theory, instead of Ash getting hurt, he actually dies from the powerful Thundershock. The anime truly follows Ash as a ghost. This theory would make sense for several reasons. Firstly, it would justify why Ash does not age in the show. He stays 10 years old for the entirety of it. It also makes sense because Ash is always asking questions and being very forgetful when it comes to basic Pokémon knowledge. This could be because he can't remember a lot of information from his past life. In the real world, humans eat plants and animals. But what do people eat in the Pokémon world? With no real animals around and only Pokémon, it can be assumed that people in the Pokémon universe eat Pokémon. It is known already that people drink Moo Moo milk, which is milk from Miltank. But as far as meat goes, Pokémon doesn't go into much detail about what they eat. In the anime, it is shown that Brock makes a variety of dishes, some that even include meat in them. But where does the meat come from? It is clear that there are either animals in Pokémon that aren't shown, or that Pokémon trainers really eat Pokémon for their meat source. In Phantomp's Pokédex entry, it states, "These Pokémon are spirits of children who have gotten lost in the forest." While it is very sad to think about, it is also highly possible that Phantomp really are just the ghosts of dead children, who got lost and probably died afraid and lonely. Though it's possible to hatch Phantomp from eggs, many consider the Pokédex entry to be proof enough, making it one of several Pokémon to share a connection with missing or dead children. While Phantomp may look cute, players should perhaps remember why they exist in the first place before they think about catching one. One of the biggest mysteries of the Pokémon series is that Ash doesn't seem to age, no matter how many years go by. One of the most widely known and accepted Pokémon theories is that Ash does not age because of his encounter with the legendary Pokémon Ho-Oh. Early on in his journey, Ash had an encounter with Ho-Oh. This Pokémon is known to have the ability to grant wishes. Some people believe that Ho-Oh granted Ash the ability to never age because he says he wants his Pokémon journey to never end.
Sadly, the parents in Pokémon aren't exactly role models. You already know your mom is scraping a little off the top every time you send her money for safekeeping. However, as bad as the mother is in the first games, your dad might be so much worse. In Pokémon Red and Green or Blue, it's unclear what happened to your dad. However, there is a strange man who likes to lurk inside gyms. This gym guide offers you advice and encouragement before you challenge the Pokémon gyms, except he's a little too friendly to just be some random stranger. One theory states that the gym guy is actually your dad. Your mom left him when she was pregnant and raised you on her own. However, your dad is trying to make up for lost time and is secretly following you to try and connect to you. He uses the gyms as an excuse to talk to you without revealing who he is.
There has been a ton of speculation surrounding Arcanine and whether or not it was meant to be legendary. One of the most popular and wildly accepted theories is that it was meant to be part of the legendary trio. Arcanine is considered a legendary Pokémon in the Pokédex, but not many people really understood why. One of the main pieces of evidence to support that Arcanine was initially going to be a part of the legendary trio is that it has unusually high stats. However, according to most fans' findings, this Pokémon just made no sense for it to be included.